Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back from spring break. I'm very excited for us to continue learning all about characters in books. So today I want to start by having you think a little bit about movies. And I know one of my favorite movies that we've watched a lot over break is Frozen. And everybody knows that the main characters of Frozen are Elsa and Anna. But there are so many other characters in Frozen. There's Olaf and Sven, and those characters are also important, and they help shape the main characters in a story. So today, boys and girls, I want to talk about how important it is to pay attention to other characters in stories and how that can be super important for helping you better understand the main character in the story. So we're going to start today by looking again at Mr. Putter and Tabby. And if you remember Mr. and Putter and Tabby from when we looked at it last time, we had mainly just focused on Mr. Putter and how Mr. Putter has a cat named Tabby. And we learned that he wanted to learn a sport. And he decided that that sport for him was going to be baseball. So now we want to talk about some of the other characters in this story. So let's read here. It says, Chapter 2, The Team. Mr. Putter found his mitt. Now all we need is a team, he told Tabby. Mr. Putter called his friend and neighbor, Mrs. Teaberry. So we now know Mrs. Teaberry is a supporting character in this story. I think she's going to help us better understand Mr. Putter. Let's see. Mrs. Teaberry would know about a team. She was very sporty. She even walked the dog-a-thon with her dog Zeke. So now we know that Mrs. Teaberry is a sporty individual. We know that she has a dog as well if she walked in the dog-a-thon. And we know that her dog's name was Zeke. So this must be one of the reasons why maybe they're friends, because they both have dogs, or maybe because they're neighbors. If you could read with me, here we go, let's read together. Of course there's a team, said Mrs. Teaberry. It's called the Yankee Doodle Dandies. Am I too old to play? Asked Mr. Putter. Heavens no, said Mrs. Teaberry, handing Zeke a sniffy bone. You will feel young on that team. So we now know that Mrs. Teaberry and Mr. Putter talk enough that Mr. Putter feels as though he and Mrs. Teaberry are good enough friends, and she knows that he is young and that he should feel young on this team, the Yankee Doodle Dandies, okay? And we know that she talks to him on the phone, and I know that when I talk to people on the phone, it's usually because we're friends. So we know that they're good friends with each other. So we've just learned a lot about Mrs. Teaberry, and we've learned a lot about Mr. Putter, all by looking at Mrs. Teaberry, okay? We can learn a lot about characters, too, by even looking at the pictures. If we go back together to when we read Iris and Walter, if you remember here, this is the part where Iris finds Walter. And when we look at this picture here, we can see that she does not look very happy with Walter just by looking at the picture. Okay, so her unhappy face is important in this story because it shows that she was mad that he wasn't paying attention because she was so worried. She even says here, I was so worried. Because you were lost. Why? Asked Walter. Because you were lost, said Iris. I was, he asked. So we also learn that they are, good enough friends that he can kind of be mad at her, but then they also can be better friends in the end. As you can see, she just was worried, right? Just like your parents would be worried if you had gone missing, or your teacher would be worried if they couldn't find you somewhere, right? So boys and girls, today and every day while you're reading, I want you to pay attention to the other characters in your story And while you're reading during your silent reading time today, notice how those other characters affect the main character and how important it is to pay attention to those characters as well. Happy reading today.